Welcome to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston. I am your host, Colleen Waterston, here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And I am also the owner and lead organizer of Space by Space Organizing, a Twin Cities-based home organizing business. And today I am here with Krystell Theisen Escobar of so many things, but EcoChico and Soul aWear today. We're talking about resale of clothing, reuse, sustainability, and Krystell owns and operates these two children's and adult clothing um, really cool businesses in West St. Paul. And but in addition, so anyone who's listened knows that I'm a very proud member of Reuse Minnesota. Krystell and I met through Reuse, and she's a board member, among many other things. So, Krystell, I'm going to let you share kind of how you describe yourself because you have so much going on. You're a mom of three, you're a wife, you're a business owner, past businesses that I think you still are owning. I mean, there's just a lot going on in your world. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell us what's the most notable and what you want to be
Yeah,
known for today.
thank you for having me, Colleen. I think that's what you and I really have in common. We're very active. We have a lot going on, but also the passion for sustainability and really how no matter what you're doing, what your profession is nowadays, you can do it more sustainably, right? Every trade, every business out there can do things how we've done them in the past, or we can move forward to doing things in a more sustainable way, which we all know we need to move into. But I did choose the path of resale. It's about 4 years ago that my husband and I, who had been in business together previously, decided to start on this journey with just sustainability being such an important part of both my upbringing, but also just the present times that we're in and knowing the urgency of all our action,
Mhm.
right? So I really would say draw most of my passion for sustainable living from the way that I learned to live from my family way back. Through my childhood, growing up in southeast Mexico. I'm from the region of the kind of southernmost part of the Gulf of Mexico, and it's a region that is hugely affected by sea level rise and climate change.
Okay.
We've had a lot of situations in my region similar to what New Orleans and Louisiana has experienced.
Do they
Um,
say that your region will be underwater at some? Do they get? 'Cause don't they give that to New
Absolutely.
Orleans? Like they say, 50 years and.
Absolutely. In fact, my previous professional career before staying home with my kids for a few years prior to resale was in insurance. So I was in insurance for 12 years. And that was the message I kept hearing every year at the insurance conferences, right? Just these alarming statistics about sea level rise, about climate
Mhm.
change and climate volatility.
Yep.
And we're all really familiar with that here in Minnesota, right? We experience climate volatility like
Mhm.
few places do, but um,
But not we don't have those weather things that can wipe us out here.
yes, right. I mean, we do have, violent wind, as we're all familiar with. We're entering kind of that time
Mhm.
of the year, but definitely the low-lying coastal regions are the ones facing very, very immediate changes
Right.
to the way people have been living for hundreds of years, and now having to really be uprooted from certain home regions. And we're not dealing with that necessarily, but as we know, we're all connected.
Right, we are so connected.
Yeah, and that that water volatility and wind volatility has followed just the general currents. I'm not a meteorologist, but I've seen
Among
seen the
other things,
models
you aren't? Okay.
in these insurance presentations, just really showing how the currents and the things that have been the patterns that have been going on are changing. And so dealing with that and the financial risk of it, of course, the health risk, safety, human lives, all those things with it, I got to encounter pretty firsthand down in my home region. I also had a chance to visit New Orleans sometime post Katrina, and was able to see that damage on the ground. And then obviously entering my time at home with my kids and realizing, wow, that's a lot of challenges
Right. Here's the world
to
and
be
raising them.
confronted with.
And my past life, it's interesting that you bring up how insurance exposed you in a new way to sustainability. My past life, I have a master's in international development and worked on certain projects that were, catering to that,
Right.
developing world. And a lot of the developing world is in more volatile climate environments. Um, and the big thing there, 10, 15 years ago was compassion fatigue for all of these, oh, just another tsunami,
Right.
another big event, like our,
Correct.
and how people, at first would be everybody would want to raise money and, the attention was on. It's almost, unfortunately, like even gun violence, it's like, oh, another big shooting. I remember when I was a kid and Columbine happened, and it was like the most wild thing to wrap your head around. And now, it's
Yes.
it's startlingly, embarrassingly rampant,
Correct.
but it was like, there were these weather things that would happen, and you'd be like, "Wow, that's terrible," and then because of the climate changing
It happens again.
all the time, and so the big trend and the word in the development community was resilience building.
Correct.
Because it was like, we need to make sure we need to put funding into structures that won't be compromised whatever the weather is. So it's like, instead of, knowing we had to come in with aid after,
Yeah.
we have to, the disaster response, we need to do more work to prevent so much destruction when things happen. So it's so interesting that, we find ourselves in the same, room here today,
Yes.
room here with reuse things. I'm a home organizer, you're a clothing reseller today,
Right.
but that passion that comes, and um that awareness that what we're doing is part of a larger
Correct.
ecosystem, and that we do live in a very global community. I've talked about this before, but I had a project I called Big Shared World. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, maybe we don't live in that region that has that problem, but
Yes.
maybe we love food from it. Or,
Correct. We're
like,
gonna experience the price increase of the tropical fruit that we're trying to
right.
bring in, and all the new things from these low-lying regions that we're really learning to enjoy. Chocolate and bananas and mangoes and all the different things, they're gonna go up in cost. And of course that limits access to these great, some very awesome superfoods that we get from these tropical regions. So we are all connected, and I was starting to see that so clearly in insurance, but asking myself the question, where do I fit in? And everything does go back to our origin story. When I immigrated to the US, my mom and I spent some time initially in Texas, and I also saw the textile pollution problem there, because Mexico actually passed a series of laws decades ago, before um, I was in my professional era, but probably when I was a child, preventing the import of used textiles from the U.S. Because they were protecting their textile industry, but they also could foresee the massive amount of textile waste that would be
So
coming
talk
into the
about that.
country.
What does shipping our textiles mean? Like, it's like the Chilean desert. Like,
Correct.
what
Mhm.
what is that? You know so much more about this.
Yeah, this is a huge issue. It's just the sheer volume of textiles that we are so quickly discarding as a society, due to a lot of factors, primarily the access that we have to very affordable clothing, right? When I went to the U, one of my abroad experiences was around strategic management logistically of fashion companies. And it was right at the period in 2005 where it was the fast rise of fast fashion and the desire to bring really up to date styles into the hands of consumers for very cheaply, and refresh the collection every 2 weeks, and get people really excited about buying cheap fashion. And by the way, fabricating a lot of it out of the waste product from petrochemical processing, which is another layer we probably don't have time to talk about today, the health of petrochemical fabrics. and how that is affecting us and our waterways. But even without that issue, it was mainly just the sheer volume of cheap clothing that we're all able to access so easily, especially in Minnesota. We also pay no tax on it. So that makes
Mhm.
it even cheaper
We can go to the Mall of
for
America
us.
and get every version of every style that a store carries.
Exactly. Now with online shopping and the
Mhm.
rise of a lot of the online fast fashion marketers, I mean, we're dead meat. We have been marketed to so heavily that we've just as a society, without really even noticing to some degree, have just started to consume a glut of clothing that's just unnecessary. In fact, that also is coupled with the fact that we're as dissatisfied as ever with the
Yep.
way we dress and, maybe the way we look or the way we feel or the way we're showing up. We
Mhm.
have so much stuff that it's now even mentally preventing us from getting ourselves ready and feeling really ready and really confident about the way we look to face our day. And so,
This gets into my world because there have
exactly.
been so many closets that I'm in. And you can just, while I'm in the closet, there's 5 more Amazon boxes delivered. Like that
Yes.
day, I walk outside to a whole nother stash of things. And you see weight fluctuation is something that, gets a whole new wardrobe, and then we don't have organizing systems to really honor the capacity of what we own. And then things go into the back of a closet, and I call that like shovers, and it's like
Yes.
sometimes if I've unloaded a closet, it's like that foam packaging that things come in that once you put air in it, you can never get it back to the
Exactly.
compressed version. So these closets, you pull out all these clothes, and clients are like, I haven't seen that. Oh, I forgot about that. And then you also see the behavior of, because I can't, it's overwhelming to go to my closet and look for
Yes.
something. I'm just going to buy something new. But the
Yes.
something new aligns with a dopamine hit,
Yep.
or going to the
It's
mall
addictive.
and getting the attention of a shopper, or supported, by someone there telling you look good, feels good. It's like there's all these compounding factors, and it's too
Yes, it's
much.
it's complicated, and really, the industry has fed on and gone after the fact that we are a little bit dissatisfied right now with the way we dress and the way we put ourselves together every day. That we are looking for a little bit of a better solution, and unfortunately, I think the solution looked like it's consuming more, but per what you do and the needs that so many are recognizing is maybe it's going back to the fundamentals and getting ourselves a little bit more organized and being a little bit more intentional and really seeing that often less is the solution, not necessarily more. So
Will you just so we can wrap our heads around to what happens when people dispose of clothing?
all
And
right.
so you were saying that Mexico banned this, or put laws against clothes coming in. Like, how did that how did they do that?
Hmm.
What's and how does that work? Because you hear like bought by the thousands of pounds, and your
Right.
family had this background.
Yes.
You were
Yes.
around textile recycling and textile
Yes.
waste. So kind of, but tell people who don't know what happens if I drop off my clothes to a thrift store and they have rips or stains or something. What happens?
Yeah, so there's a couple of layers of issues there. And this is actually a relative of mine who was in the business right at the border because there is a glut of textiles that have accumulated there. They're trying to find a home. Um, we're all, in this country with the abundance financially that we have and the ability to consume and spend. We have a lot of excess that we're trying to manage. And so what do? We want it really in our heart to go someplace good. And we
Hmm.
know there's value. Um, but, we have options that are more convenient, less convenient. And we're always, usually, as a society, with our lifestyle, going to choose the most convenient option. So we have had, huge network of thrift and donation centers that have just grown rampantly in the last few years, especially since COVID. It was a big cleanout time for
Right.
people, and they just do not. have the capacity to responsibly process the massive amount of discards that we have, the things that have been accumulated.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
there's not the demand for it. You drop off your stuff and feel really good about your purge, "Oh, I went through
right,
my whole
right.
closet and I got rid of so many things, and now I'm gonna drop it off and feel good about it." And and we don't really attach that
Yep.
feeling good.
Yes, and there's a lot of labor involved to processing, donations, period, but especially in textiles. And a lot of thrift stores, they don't really want to specialize in clothes, but they get so many clothes that they have had to creatively, uh, divert clothing. Uh, a lot of operations that don't have a lot of financial support, do dump things because they just simply don't have the labor and capacity to deal with it. Other organizations that have a little bit more wherewithal will probably gather it all up, break it up into pallets, and then have it shipped. And sometimes it's shipped across the country to the borderlands, usually. But oftentimes it is put on ships and it's sent to countries where there is not a protectionist law like that. So a lot of those countries are in South America and in West Africa. Those are the ones where most of our clothing discards here locally tend to be diverted to.
I've been to markets in Kenya,
Yeah.
where at East Africa, but someone pulls out a tarp, puts their
Mhm.
merchandise out for the day, and it is all used clothing from the
Yep.
US. It's a Chicago Bulls shirt. It's,
Yep.
we've got our logos on it, and it's just um that's what their market is,
Yep.
is used United States clothing. Then I know that in the Chilean desert,
Yes, there's a huge
the
dumpster.
Atacama Desert is like the dumpster of the world now.
Yeah, there's a huge textile dump that has accumulated there, and that's been for, now several decades of clothing that has made its way into South America, Central America, and several countries there, like Costa Rica is a big, um, has a big secondhand enthusiast and trade um, operations on the ground that are popular, but there's just so much. There's
Yeah.
just so much that we have discarded that it makes its way all the way down to almost the tip of the continent. And in the desert there, has been the kind of the final graveyard of
Yeah.
all these textiles that probably aren't good enough to use. Frankly, there has not been a responsible way to discard them. So now we're just putting them out there in nature. This dumpster is so big it can be seen from outer space, and that is just after, one generation of let's call it the fast fashion revolution,
Right.
right? Whatever you want to call that.
That's
But
such a great point about one generation. Okay. But we have people who are intervening. We have trailblazers like yourself who are creating alternative models to this, fast fashion, and really not just creating these store offerings to reduce, new fast fashion purchases, but also doing education around it. And it's not about just um, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to hear about your stores because you are doing great work right here in the community. And we're going to get into what you have to offer and what people can come and help be part of the solution of this problem that we all face. So we'll take a quick break and be back with Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston. All right, welcome back to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950. And today I am here, so happy to be here with Krystell Theisen Escobar. And Krystell and I just talked all about kind of the backstory to some of her motivation and passion for creating a more sustainable world. And we scratched the surface of the mountain of the problem of fast fashion. And I know that you could probably write a book about your expertise and knowledge and awareness
there's
of
so
the
much.
issue.
There's so much, and a lot that is evolving, and a lot of solutions coming too, which was part of the resale concepts that my husband and I started working on. This was 4 years ago, and we actually first, knowing that reuse is really such a huge opportunity for us in this society, and just looking back at again my upbringing in a rural place where there's maybe lacking access to a lot of new materials, and people really leaned into reuse, and seeing just here how new generations, a lot of younger people, are really more and more and more comfortable with reuse all the time. And so we looked at actually other resale concepts, and we looked at potentially buying a franchise just to have the brand and awareness support. And what we found is the current resale concepts we were vetting were just not putting sustainability at their core of their operation. And
That's
it was still,
interesting.
yeah, it was still very much about flipping clothing for a high margin. And that's a
Mhm.
lot of what fast fashion is based on. And we just knew there has to be a different way of doing things, because where we are right now and where we were 20 and 30 years ago, when a lot of these resale models started popping up, it became more than just thrift. You had consignment shops and resale. Um, we really knew we have to rewrite this business plan to be sustainability based, to really solve that distribution problem.
Mhm.
We all know that there's plenty for everyone. It's just it's poorly distributed, and we really wanted to be a solution for that. So, EcoChico is the kids concept that we were first very passionate about because of the stage of life we were in too. We were raising kids, and like you were saying, transitions and times when life changes, and growing children, and women going through also different stages and changes to their body and all these things. It just causes a lot of turnover, but
Mhm.
it's also an opportunity sometimes to fall in these consumer traps that
It's
cause us
true.
to, consume too much but not
Mhm.
get as much value and satisfaction out of what we're spending and consuming.
I had a client that had had 2 kids, had had a lot of weight gain with the kids, and one of my favorite clients to date, just a great, amazing personality, but, she would talk about, like, being exhausted while breastfeeding in the middle of the night and being like, I was unconscious." Like, all these purchases, when we
Yep.
would go through something, she would literally be like, "I was unconscious. I was
Yes.
unconscious," or "I was influenced,"
Yes,
and so she
absolutely.
was talking about how easy it was, when she's half a brain because she's so tired, it's the middle of the
Yes.
night, we're going on that's hard anyway, and now you have a demanding baby wanting to be fed,
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's like, oh my goodness, and they were, busy professionals as well, and it's like, it's so easy. They make it so easy to add to cart and buy, so instead of
Yes.
being like, "Let me really contemplate the best way to get this into my life," it's like, "How can I get what I need the fastest so that I
Right.
can fix this problem?" But the ways that she was being, as a new mom and on social media and on her phone, the algorithms of the day were also pushing that in front of her
Yes.
with a force that she could not push back,
Yes,
so
moms
she
are
just
aggressively marketed
yes.
to. Yes, and we knew that, and I have a marketing background. That was my field of study, and also my post college career was spent at a major consumer products goods company that marketed a lot to women, and I just know the aggressive marketing that is done, and it's a challenge, but it's also a vulnerable time when you're entering
Yes.
parenthood to be marketed to in all these different ways. And so I feel like we brought that desire to give moms a more sustainable opportunity to try things, to experiment with things, to slow down and more mindfully purchase by getting a chance to test things out in a secondhand setting where you can try on the baby carriers and see which one actually fits comfortably. You can check out all the little plastic knickknacks and see, do I really need this in my diaper bag?
So tell us about EcoChico.
Right.
What's there? How do I shop? What goes fast? What can I bring things in? Like, give us the EcoChico backstory and today's
Yeah.
story.
So we're a little bit different than some of the resale experiences from prior models. We do swap and trade only. So we do talk to our customers about, saving your things up and bringing them in for recycling and being very intentional about, first sharing and handing down and doing all those, traditional things we've done, which are great for reuse and great for economy and great for connecting with family and friends as well. But then we encourage when people are done with things, when things are really done serving you, bring them in. We give people very few rules and requirements about how they need to bring things in. And we do that intentionally because we do not want to add to mom's plate. We want to be providing a solution, not a new task or a new challenge or a new hurdle.
Mhm.
So we are very flexible. We take all seasons all year round. We will take your buys anytime we're open. There's no need to set up an appointment. There's no
Okay.
need to lay things out in a certain way. All that we ask are that things come in clean, that they have been recently cleaned, and that you come during our normal hours. If you come toward the end of the day, we might ask you to follow up on your swap the next day. But really, we keep it super easy, light for moms. When they come in, it takes about 5 minutes for them to check in with some very basic personal info. And then once they have an account set up, they're in a community where they're getting information about sustainable living on a regular basis. But, we're not spamming them either. So we're communicating with customers about once a month, respectfully and intentionally, about things moms should know about more sustainable ways to live locally that are affordable, accessible, and easy. A lot of sustainable living tips that moms get, we feel really increase their workload,
Mhm.
and we are going for the opposite. We're going for taking work off of mom's plate. We don't need you to pre-sort your stuff before you bring it in. We don't need you to sort it by size. We don't need you
Okay.
to do any of that. We're here to do that for you. And you can feel really good about where your things go because we offer a per piece exchange rate. So we
Okay.
offer moms a shopping credit, which is generous. It's market rate. But because we do swapping instead of buying for cash, we are able to buy a lot and take a significant percentage, half or more of the typical load that we'd get, even in baby items. We're able to put back into reuse right in our store.
So someone comes in with, laundry bins full of things and clothes and baby related. Do you take toys? Do you take
Yeah, so
games?
we have chosen not to take toys because we really want to focus on things that are high utility
Okay.
for parents raising kids. We do books
Okay.
because we really appreciate the way that books can both entertain kids but are also helping parents to raise their kids and helping kids be literate, being exposed to letters, art, visuals, all that. So we do books. We do all sorts of accessories, many resellers and thrift stores do not take.
Okay.
We are able
Is
to
that meaning
recall
like
check.
hair things and bibs or what
Yeah,
are
everything
accessories?
from hair binders to pacifiers,
Okay.
to we take undies and socks. We love undies and socks, and people love buying them from us because we uh, set up items that are super clean in a very, very clean and very organized store setting.
So that's used underwear for kids.
Yeah, use undies for kids.
That's so funny. I have a friend that
Parents
gets
and
all my
grandparents love
sister's
them.
girl stuff, and I was like, "Hey, do you want this underwear?" And she's like, "Yes." I was like, it came, it's clean."
Yeah,
And she was like,
definitely.
"Yeah." So I was like, "Oh, I did not know." And a lot of
Yeah.
places to donate to will not.
Yeah,
So
we have a
that's
high standard
really,
of
really,
clean,
really good to
but
know.
yeah, we have a high standard of clean, but we will put anything that is high utility, anything that's really useful. The number one customers actually that we have for our undies bins are actually school counselors that come in and make sure they have a stash of clean undies at schools for kids.
If there's an accident.
Yeah, and that's another piece of the puzzle on the back end. So when people leave their things, often people do want to donate the rest. Or sometimes people don't even care about swapping. They're done raising their kids and they're just bringing their items in to find a good home. We have a plethora of community alliances, including with our local schools, public and private, that help schools be able to accept the generosity of the parents in the community in terms of giving clothing donations, but taking the burden of the processing of that clothes off of them. They're not staff for that. They're there to educate, they're there to serve children, they're there to solve problems for families. We have a great system and we're really efficient at sorting the clothing. So, what we do is we allow them to have an account where we rack up the dollars from the swap value of the items they would bring. Sometimes it's their lost and found pile at the end of the year. And then stores have that account and they're able to do more to support their kids and their families by shopping for the things they need and, on a daily basis, like snow pants and undies and
Mhm.
socks.
Mhm.
And they're able to turn those proceeds into gift cards for families. So families also are receiving a really super just dignified help when they are able to go and shop for the things that they really need for their kids and don't have to dig through piles of donations. We do that. We love handling the clothing, and we have really good systems for doing that. An awesome team.
That's very cool. So you give schools the opportunity to turn, credit that they earn from things that they bring into gift cards for families that might not be able they might not have that value of swap in, or they're just able to say, "Hey, there's
Absolutely.
this great store. Here's some money for it." But then, the experience we've all heard of the opposite experiences, and those memories live with kids who know that they can't afford where they're
Oh,
shopping and
yes.
who feel that they've stood in line for something, and they feel like they know we don't have enough money for this. We can't afford this, and to think what that internalizes. So to give kids an opportunity to go shopping with their parents and to give the parents that opportunity to hand over that card and know
Yes.
we've got what we need to
Big.
afford this. Like that's I'm so glad to know that, but also to know you and to know I'm glad that you didn't do a franchise model and that you are doing this on your own because knowing you and we're both pretty busy gals, so we just got together today and we're like, "Has it really been that long since we were together before?" Um, and I think if we could choose, we'd be together much more often, but we're both doing things in
Yeah.
our own worlds, and I'm so happy that you are the brain behind what's happening over there in West St. Paul and will expand as you continue to expand because your heart is in such the right place, but your mind is there too. You have such a comprehensive approach to this.
Yeah, the community has really supported it, and frankly, it has organically emerged from just those conversations of people want to reuse, they want to recycle, they want to live sustainably. I believe that I believe doesn't matter what your politics are, your beliefs, your people do want to do better
Mhm.
by the earth. I believe everybody has a desire to some degree, and we just need to give people an actionable option that they can choose. That's, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? We
Mhm.
have been figuring it out. So all these partnerships with schools, all the ways in which, different mom groups have gotten involved over this last winter and all the challenges we had with the ice occupation, we were able to do so many things because the community said, yeah, what do we do? We just can't stand the thought of children going without pieces of clothing because they're not out shopping right now. What can we do? And all of it just stemmed from customer conversations because people do want to live more sustainably. They want to choose better. And when we declutter, we want our things to go somewhere where they will still do good and bring value into the world. But frankly, the options that we have are not stellar. Like we said, they're overwhelmed, and we have created a system to just take a little bit of the burden off, but also redistributing the value in a more equitable way and causing things to go where they're needed, which is huge. That's a big problem to solve.
Yes, the abundance and the scarcity that exists within our society and the space in between and the growing divide
Yes,
of income inequality and disparity is something that feels overwhelming to tackle, but
absolutely.
these efforts are exactly what's tackling it and confronting it and addressing it. Okay, so talking about growing organically, not just kids. Now you have adult clothing. Not even 5 years after opening, you're already up and running Soul Aware,
Yeah.
aWear, WEAR. Tell us about this adult clothing store.
Yes. So, also another thing that just organically emerged because of what the community was telling us, what they were bringing to us. They really, really, really wanted to bring us their adult clothing, and we
You're
just
like,
had limited
"I'm so sorry,
capacity.
this is" Yeah.
Because of children, we were doing maternity and we were even trying to expand maternity. We heard that Target was no longer doing retail maternity clothing in store, it went all online.
Oh, I
So we
didn't
just
know
thought,
that.
okay, we have to lean into that. How do we do it with limited space? So we actually had a killer opportunity in our neighborhood in West St. Paul to lease a space on the corner of Smith and Annapolis Highway 13, which is just such a great location for community gathering and whatnot. There's a really beloved cafe there, Amore Coffee, and the antique mall, all sorts of cool little shops. And so when that space became available, and we had already seen this, needs to happen for adult, and we need to have an exchange for adult clothing. And there's a lot coming here. We have both a Goodwill and a Savers on Robert Street, and they just cannot keep up. They cannot keep up. um Driving by the Savers big dumpster and seeing the many pallets of clothing that are sitting there exposed to the elements is something that's
Heartbreaking.
almost too hard for me emotionally.
Yeah.
And I just knew, we need another outlet. We need another way to bring these things into reuse. We did a little community survey on our community Facebook page, and I got huge response from that, tons of feedback. People felt passionate about it. And so, through the connection of other moms who actually were also, we discovered, doing resale on the side and bringing us beautiful items at EcoChico, and showing that they had a real love for working with clothing and textiles and a real passion also for reuse. The network just came together and we formed a collective of women there. So I'm not the only reseller there. There's 6 other women who also are locally sourcing inventory from people's discards, doing all sorts of things to love up on clothing, to revive and refresh and restore clothing that, I mean, I think we have a couple of pieces of clothing that are over 60 years old that we've been working on. We have one dress we've restored beautifully recently, and we're just doing so much exciting work for us and the things we're interested in, which we love fashion, we love clothing, but we love reuse and sustainability, and the way that we feel, fashion should not be this bad word in terms of being an environmentalist and being an advocate for sustainability. We need to be able to express ourselves through fashion, but do so responsibly without needing to spend crazy amounts of money on our wardrobe, because we know that's also not sustainable for the average family. So I feel like we put all the solutions together in this collective, and it's such an elevated space for secondhand, and it's
If
community
people
exchange
if people wanna be
100%.
checking these out, we're gonna take a quick break before we come back and give people tips to declutter, to kind of bring you their first batch of things. If people want to come and check them out, where do I find your stores, and where do I find your hours? What are your
Yeah, definitely. So we
sites?
are located in the heart of West St. Paul, which is misnamed. It's just south of downtown St. Paul. But if you know the Robert Street business corridor, just south of downtown St. Paul, Eco Chico is located on Robert and Butler Avenue, right off the freeway. There is pretty convenient. And then Solaware is located on Smith Avenue, which is also just south of downtown St. Paul, across the High Bridge. If you're familiar with the High Bridge, just a beautiful area to explore anyway, if you want to look around the beautiful city of St. Paul. And then right across from that, we're on Smith and Highway 13, Annapolis. But yeah, they can also check us out online. EcoChicoResale.com is our primary website for EcoChico, and you can also find us on Google, find people's comments. Solaware is a brand new concept, so we just grand opened in March, but we are getting all sorts of positive feedback about the way that we're curating clothing and making secondhand really attractive, but also enhancing people's incentive to clean out
To
and
clean out. Okay,
return.
so when we come back, we'll talk about that clean out. So this is Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston and Krystell Theisen Escobar. We will be right back. Welcome back to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950. I am here today, Krystell. I have so enjoyed I enjoy being in your company. I enjoy hearing what you're up to. I'm so happy you're part of our community of Reuse Minnesota, but so much more beyond that. And we've been talking about EcoChico and um, so, Soul
Soul aware.
Aware, aWear for your adult clothing, female only.
It's men and women's.
Men and women's. Okay. Need to go shopping. And I said I checked my phone real quick on our break and I had shared with my book club girls. I didn't have a plan and I almost thought I'd have one of my book club girls come in. I was at book club this week saying someone might be
Nice.
coming in to either interview me or talk. I don't know. We have to come up with this. And we had talked about this months ago. I thought, I'm just going to reach out to Krystell and see if she's available. And you were able to move things around for me. So I said, girls, you're off the hook. And then I told them who I got. And my friend said, I go there like once a month. I love EcoChico.
Oh,
And
that's
so
awesome.
she's got a 2-year-old. It makes so much sense. She's super cute and fashionable. And her kid is adorable. Henry is just the cutest and well dressed. So that tracks.
Yeah, that's great. That's how
Um,
our Eco Chicos, some styling kids, they
I love that, but, like, she was very excited that she's like, "I love," and that's what it's fun to have moms feel like they've got a good partner as their kid grows,
Oh,
and
for
so
sure.
case in point right there.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
beautiful community. It really is.
but in order to get all these clothes on your shelves and get all of this stuff, it has to come we were talking about decluttering.
Yes.
And so I am a home organizer. If you're interested in having support while decluttering,
Yeah.
it's spacebyspaceorganizing.com. Give us a call, 612-747-1331. But you have even a downloadable tips for decluttering on the each
Yes.
EcoChico site. But tell me your I know you have kind of a strategy. So let's get into that.
Yeah, so this was even before my resale journey. I discovered an amazing influencer. She's right here from Minnesota, and I knew there's a reason I really liked her from the get-go. But the Minimum Mom, she's on YouTube and just such a honest expert on decluttering. I mean, if she can't get you decluttered, she can get anyone to excited about decluttering. And one of her approaches is decluttering backwards, which I really love. It's what I base my checklist on, because I got a lot of help from her, and I wanted to help moms just take that first step of unloading even your first load. I just had a customer come in, has not had his baby yet, and already having to do some decluttering because blessed with lots of hand me downs and wonderful
Yes.
things. But it might be as early as that stage where you're saying, hey, I'm feeling the stress, I'm feeling the overload, and let's get that exercise underway. And I'm just trying to make it as fast as possible for people. Decluttering is a long journey, as you know, and when people hire you, they just get to they just get to fast track through the
Fast
journey
forward.
and fast forward. They get to work smart, not hard, but going through the process mentally is half the work. And so, deciding whether you're going to work with somebody or you're going to start the journey, just take that first step on your own.
Well, there are a lot of, like, memes out there, things out there on Instagram of like, "Okay, I pulled everything out of my closet, now what?" And they're
Yes.
surrounded by their clothes, and it is way too overwhelming for
Yes.
how much we have. So, absolutely call me, call another organizer to help you go through your stuff start to finish. And that is where, and I see that with clients, even in the messy middle, they don't believe it will get put back together
Yes.
because it is so daunting. But when you hire somebody, it is Patrick, our producer here, was like, it's kind of like you pass go, you
Yeah.
you roll the dice to be like, I'm just gonna pass
Yep.
go and hire this person to do it. But if you are doing it little by little, your tips,
Yes.
decluttering backward.
So decluttering backwards is, a little tool to take the overwhelm out and just get you going and get you started. And what it is pulling out for whatever you're decluttering. So if you were doing this for your kids, let's say you're doing this for your 2-year-old, like your friend, you know, pulling together the things, into a bin, a tabletop, a container, whatever it is, the things that you absolutely need. So we're entering, the hot season of summer. What does my 2-year-old need so that week in and week out, they're dressed, they're prepared, they're ready for camp, they're ready for a rainy day,
What is my 2-year-old's
XYZ.
capsule wardrobe?
Yep. And taking all the precious things that I know they need, putting them together, seeing the gaps, maybe putting them on a list that can go off to the side for now, but then giving yourself the liberty to either get rid of everything else if you're ready to be that bold. But even if you're not, taking everything else and maybe putting it all away and giving yourself like a 2-week test to see, did I really need any of this other stuff, or was I able to get by with just my essentials that I pulled out first? Right? So it takes away the overwhelm of having to go through everything and assess everything, because decision fatigue, is
Yeah.
huge for parents.
Yeah.
So instead of doing all of those yes or no decisions of going through every single item you have, you're just going to pick the strong yeses and you're going to say, I'm going to try to live off this stuff for a little bit. Put everything off to the side, put it off in one of those hidden closets out of sight. And then if
And
you
maybe set a calendar reminder that you put it there.
Yeah, that would be helpful for
Yeah.
most moms, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. So once you're reminded, you will have shown yourself, hey, did I miss any of these items, or did I not miss any of these items? And if I did not miss them, then chances are I probably don't need them. Maybe the 1 or 2 things I think about, I pull out of that and bring it into my normal rotation. And then I give myself the liberty to get rid of everything else.
It's interesting because I've had Ellen Fay, a productivity coach, on, and we talked about email. And she's like, just batch 2 weeks worth, your most recent 2 weeks, and archive the rest or put them so that you're not overwhelmed by everything all at once. So it's like even a tech sort, and then that, for a DIY approach. If you're not hiring, myself and a team of people, and I always talk in human hours
Right.
because, and like the other day I was in a craft room and I'm like adding up, I'm like, this took us 20 human hours to do the sort, to go through it and to put it all back together. And so it's like people underestimate the amount of time and energy that things will take. I always underestimate the amount of time that we have on this show to talk. So we are at the TikTok seconds left here. But Krystell, I'm so happy that you were able to come and share your story. Go and meet this glowing, lovely gal and her team at EcoChico and at aWear. And what I love what you're doing is you're giving people a partner in raising their kids, and you're
Oh,
giving
absolutely.
people a partner in making sure that when their kids' stuff is done, they can feel good about it, and when they need something new, they can feel good about it.
Absolutely.
Here we are, sorting through life. Colleen Waterston,
Thank
AM
you so much.
950. Thank you.